Hello everybody, Beard Reads Books here, and in today's book review I'm going to be reviewing one of the Chronicles of Narnia books, The Horse and His Boy. Now this was, I think it was probably the fifth book that was published in the series, but chronologically, sort of in the history of the Narnia, this would be book number 3. So it was set around about the same time period that Peter, Susan, Edmund and Lucy, the characters from The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, this is at about the same time that they would have been kings and queens of Narnia. And they do make brief appearances in this book. I mean, this is about, the basic storyline is about a boy called Shasta. He's Calamine, and he meets a Narnian horse called Bree, and throughout the story they team up with a girl called Aravis and her talking horse called Hwin, and it's basically how they sort of help stop Calamine Prince from he plans to attack Arkenland and sort of like take that by attack, and to also get Narnia, and they basically help to prevent all that happening. And there's a little bit of a surprise twist about involving Shasta at the end. I won't say too much because I like spoilers. Now, I must admit, this one book, this is one of the Narnia books that as a child I struggled to read. I'd have been about, I remember trying to read it by myself when I was about 6 or 7, and I just struggled a bit to read it. Some of the words I stumbled a bit over. Now I can't remember what my reading ability was like when I was sort of that age, so I can't remember if I was sort of at the right reading age or a bit behind or what. But I found it a lot harder as a little kid to read this by myself than I did, say, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. So I'd say this book might be for slightly older children when it comes to them reading it by themselves. And so I must admit, I tried reading it by myself then, struggled, never attempted to read it again until now. So the last couple of days, this is the first time I've ever actually read this book all the way through. So yeah, I mean, all the other Narnia books, I've read them at some point. So as I'm reading them now, sort of to do reviews for my channel, I know what's going on because I've read them before. So I'm basically rereading them. But this time, reading it for the first time, coming into it completely fresh, and that, and it's quite an interesting story. I mean, probably not quite as action-packed, for want of a better way of putting it, as The Magician's Nephew and The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, which I've just recently read. The pacing of this seemed to be a bit slower than those, a bit, for what a better way of putting it, it's a bit more, I didn't kind of get into it quite as easily as those other two books. I almost want to use the word sluggish, but I'm not sure that's quite the right way to put it. It's it just felt a bit more, the other two books had felt a bit more fast paced than this one did. So yeah, this felt a bit slower. And another thing I noticed with this one, because the other two, in my book reviews I mentioned that there's a lot of Christian allegory. This one, yes, it's still got the Christian allegory in it, but not quite so blatant in your face as the first two books. This one, so yeah, it's not quite on the nose, and another thing I'd say is I personally would describe it as being a book very much of its time. What I mean by that is this: it was written in the when was it written? 56, 57. Oh, first published 54. But anyway, yeah, so mid-50s. So, and the Calamine characters, which are, I mean, this is set quite a bit in Calamine and deals a lot with like the Calamines and that. And I mean, the way they're described, they do come across very much as though they're, what's the best way to put it? I mean, the way they're described, it conjures up images of real world, sort of like the Arabs, the sort of like Turks and sort of that kind of thing. But it's very much a 1950s description of, say, the Arabs and the sort of Turks and like the Muslims. I suppose this is probably the Calamines. I suppose they are a bit like, could you say the Narnia's equivalent of the Muslims? I don't know, but yeah, the way the Calamines are described, I'll definitely say it's a 1950s description. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Probably not as much as I enjoyed reading the first two books. So out of the three that I've read so far, this is my least favourite. I mean, I've got another 4 books to go, and so whether at the end this will still be my least favourite out of all 7, I don't know, but out of the first 3, it's at the bottom. It's probably one of those books, I don't think you'd be missing out if you didn't read it. I think from what I remember of the other Narnia books that I haven't read yet, the other last 4, I don't think you'd miss out. You don't necessarily need to read this one to be able to sort of read all the others. I think this is sort of very much a side story, so it doesn't sort of directly tie in too much with any of the others. I loved Aslan, the role he played in this book. Thoroughly loved Aslan's role, and I mean, a lot of the characters that appeared in this story didn't really care too much for them myself, but Aslan's role in this book really did it for me. Really did it, yeah. Thoroughly enjoyed his role in it. So if you're gonna read it just for Aslan's bit. You know, the rest of the story is a bit of something and nothing, and not exactly something I'd rave about. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed Aslan's bit. That's probably the only bit about the story that I personally fully enjoyed. But yeah, like I said, I mean, if you're one of these people, you're a bit of a completionist, and by that I mean you're one of these people who've got to read all the books in the series, then definitely read it. Yeah, but I would say that due to the fact this doesn't directly tie in with any of the other books, due to the fact you don't need to read it in order to enjoy the other Narnia stories, I would say don't be afraid to give it a miss if you don't want to read it, you know. Yeah, so my my thoughts, final thoughts on this book. I haven't missed out by having not read it for all these years. In a way, I'm glad I have read it, purely because I'm a little bit of a completionist myself. But yeah, I haven't missed out by having not read it for all these years, so it's all right. And that's my final views on it. So, guys, hope you've enjoyed watching. If you've read The Horse and His Boy, I'd love to know what you think of it. So, drop me a comment and tell me what you thought of it. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Yeah, I'd like to hear what you think of it. Anyway, guys, now I haven't decided what book I'm going to be reading next. As soon as I finish doing this review, I'm going to have a little look on my bookshelf and see what inspires me. So, yeah. My next book review is going to be a bit of a surprise to me as well as you, so I haven't decided that. But anyway, guys, whatever it is, I'll do my best to make it a good review, and look forward to seeing you when I do it. And in the meantime, guys, take care.